In 1964, a science fiction writer sat in front of a BBC camera and described a device people would carry in their pockets. It wouldn't be connected to any wires. It would allow them to talk to anyone, anywhere on Earth. At the time, computers filled entire rooms. Satellites were rare, and this idea sounded absurd. The writer's name was Arthur C. Clarke, and what he described is something you're probably holding right now.
What's interesting isn't that Clark imagined a new device, it's how he imagined it. He didn't talk about faster phones or better radios. He talked about a world where distance simply stops mattering. In the interview, Clark explains that these pocket devices wouldn't belong to one place. You wouldn't go to them, they would go with you. He even says people would use them casually, not as machines, but as something ordinary. In 1964, that way of thinking was strange. Phones were heavy, expensive, tied to walls. Clark wasn't predicting technology, he was predicting behavior. He was asking, what happens when communication becomes effortless, when reaching someone is no harder than thinking about them? That's why his prediction worked. Not because he guessed the hardware itself, but because he understood the human side of it.
The Titanic prediction. In 1898, 14 years before the Titanic sank, a writer named Morgan Robertson published a short novel called Futility. The story follows a massive passenger ship named the Titan. It was described as the largest ship ever built, considered practically unsinkable, and designed to cross the North Atlantic. In the novel, the Titan hits an iceberg in April. There aren't enough lifeboats on board, and thousands of passengers die in the freezing water. 14 years later, in April 1912, the real Titanic followed a disturbingly similar path. It was the largest ship of its time, marketed as unsinkable, crossing the North Atlantic, and it struck an iceberg. Like in the book, there weren't enough lifeboats for everyone. The similarities don't mean Robertson could see the future. He was an experienced sailor who understood ship design and human overconfidence. But what makes the story strange is how specific the details were: the route, the timing, and even the name. Not a prophecy, but a rare case where fiction lined up almost perfectly with reality.
Mark Twain was born in 1835, the same year Halley's Comet passed Earth. Later in life, he noticed the coincidence. He said, "I came in with Halley's Comet, and I expect to go out with it." Halley's Comet returns roughly 75 years. In 1910, the comet appeared again. And one day after its closest approach to Earth, Mark Twain died. He didn't just arrive with the comet, he left with it too. A full lifetime, perfectly framed by a single object moving through space.